Lexy Show Fashion That Gives a Damn. This week I am joined by the founder and president of Recycle2riches. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Ashleigh Dawson. So what inspired you to start Recycle2riches, and what gap did you see in the sustainability movement that you wanted to fill?
So how long do we have? Because that's a long
As long as
that,
you want.
that's a long answer. So what inspired me to start Recycle to Riches was seeing the linear economy of production in fashion. So it was really the take, make, waste system that I saw that was in place. This was through a few internships that I had that were totally fast fashion here in Los Angeles, working for free, doing really difficult things morally that I didn't like doing, like relabeling. A lot of brands just kind of ship their products to a location and you have to relabel. So you take off that label and you put on that boutique label. So it's not their own, but they're saying it is. So that's the system, that's the behind the scenes, just a snippet of what I got to see and what inspired me to start Recycle to Riches as an upcycled fashion brand. The gap was definitely the gap in the production system that the consumer wasn't seeing. So I wanted to peel back that lens and show the consumer these are the things that our linear economy and fashion and production in general that you're not seeing. And when you see it, you can't unsee it and you want to change. So those were the things that inspired me to start and also the gap that I saw.
Amazing. And so, I mean, you talk about, working in fast fashion. I feel like this is a side of things that a lot of people now in the sustainability business were like, oh, I started with fast fashion and it made me never want to work in fast fashion ever again. But was there kind of like a moment in terms of sustainability outside? Like, was sustainability something that you had practiced beforehand? Was this something that was kind of in your life, or was it really that fast fashion versus let's not do that?
Yeah, so I'd have to go all the way back to my Uncle Mark when I was in Plainville, Connecticut, making me turn off the water while I'm washing the dishes, composting with me, really caring for nature. He brought me to the first Earth Day summit. So honestly, I didn't know it, but it was actually always in my life through him. And when I came out to California, I really did love fashion. So that was my first pursuance. So I went straight for fashion, was doing whatever I could to get involved in fashion in Los Angeles, even styling, doing a little bit of styling work for shows, things like that. And honestly, I just realized that yes, it is the fashion, but right when I took my environmental science class, that's when it all hit. That's when it was like, oh, wait, it's not just fashion, it's all of it.
Hmm.
It's all of consumption. So it was environmental science I was taking along with honestly marketing. So it was a funny little combination. And right when I learned in marketing that we were learning about the culture of consumption, and we'll get more into that, I'm sure, because it's the mission statement, but that's what we were learning about. And I clicked that in my head and said, that's what needs to change.
Hmm.
Because as being in the environmental science class, seeing the effect that production had and what we had on the planet with all of the waste and all of the greenhouse gases that we're producing through production of products and overconsumption and blah, 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 blah. I can go on and on about that one, but those classes both together were the key, right? That clicked it all together. And I was like, oh no, it's more. And there's a lot more to it. So yeah, it was a long journey, but through it all, I think the big aha moment was when I was taking those classes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that that's something that's so important to like point out too, is like some of these things that we're literally already doing are sustainable things.
Yeah.
Turning, like you said, turning off your water when you're in between brushing your teeth, or taking short showers, or all these other things, saving any like jars that come into your house, I think is one that I've been doing a lot more of, and I think like these are things that are like they're just second nature to a lot of like households and families and people, and then it's like maybe you're doing it out of like, oh, it's this to save money, but then at the end of the day, it's also like this is a more sustainable thing, and I think that that's kind of funny to think about is because so many people will talk about how expensive it is to be sustainable. And I'm like, well, actually, let me stop you right there. Let me break that misconception right there. But I love that you mentioned because I feel like I had a similar experience where I had toured my now alma mater, FITM, and I had learned about sustainability through like them because they had this whole sustainable textiles room.
Mm.
And then I was still in high school and I was taking an environmental science class and I loved my environmental science teacher, like loved him. He ended up writing one of my recommendations for college. Like I
Mm.
loved him. I loved his class so much. And I was like, this is so interesting because I'm really learning about sustainability now in the fashion industry ever since I went to FITM and toured it and was like, wait, what does sustainable fashion mean? And then it was like felt so combined with like taking environmental science. He was a firm believer that none of us should live in like California because it's, and I was like, oh, you're not gonna like when I tell you that I'm moving to California, but I feel like I was like hearing you saying environmental science. I was like, oh my God, wait, same. I forgot about that.
That's
But
interesting.
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, you go.
That's interesting you say that about your environmental science teacher, because that's kind of what we were taught too, even though we were living in California. It was like, yeah, it's the city that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't be here. It's like a
Literally,
desert
he would like
wasteland.
constantly talk about that, and I
Yeah.
was like, I hate to tell you this. I did just apply to a school in Los Angeles, and I am gonna ask you to write my recommendation letter. Oopsies. Anyways, I learned other stuff from his class. I just maybe had a little bit of selective hearing when it came to that California part.
Oh yeah, you had a destiny and you were gonna stick to it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, you mentioned it a little bit, but Recycle to Riches describes its mission as changing the culture of consumption. What does this mean to you in practice?
yeah, great question. So in practice, now that I'm more than 10 years into trying to change the culture of consumption, it's changed over the years. This is a very personal experience that you're going to have. So changing your own culture of consumption means asking more questions when you're consuming, trying to fill in those gaps of production that you may have not understood yet, or maybe even didn't think about. How did you get that glass cup? Who made it? Is it really all glass? Is there mixed material? It can get really interesting and really fun to look into your products and want to know more. So changing the culture of consumption in your own really starts with asking questions and being more curious about what you're consuming.
Completely. I think that that's something that we're not seeing. I mean, like, we really have to change people's mindsets nowadays when it comes to consumption. I think that's like one of the biggest things right now in the fashion industry is like, yes, there's the production and there's, you know, these textiles that are harmful and all of that, but then there's also the people that are consuming this that are keeping this cycle going. And I think with fast fashion and social media and the rise of trends and micro trends and throwaway culture, we're seeing just so much of this like, oh, I'm gonna buy something because I have an event on Tuesday and I need it to come by Monday and it's currently Saturday.
Right.
And I'm gonna wear it for this one event and then I'm never gonna need it ever again. So I'm gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think we're just seeing so much more of that as these things grow and grow and grow. So I definitely think like asking yourself those questions. I always ask I have really like dwindled the amount of which I go thrifting. I think that thrifting when I first started off my like sustainable journey, I was like really replacing a lot of my fast fashion shopping habits with thrifting,
Yeah.
where I was just like, you know, it's on the cheaper end and it's fun and I'm being sustainable, so it's okay. So then I was just buying things and I was buying it because it was on trend and I just happened to find something similar to it in the thrift store. Or I bought it because it was maybe one day I would wear it with this specific outfit.
Right.
Really
Yep.
look good with this outfit, but the rest of the outfits and the rest of the things in my closet, I don't know how it would pair with. So I went thrifting over the weekend and I had like a whole cart full of things and I ended up only going home with like two things that I
Great.
was like these are things that I've been needing and I was like I couldn't believe I found it and there was no thought in my brain that was like I'm not getting this. Like there was no thought in my brain that was like I wouldn't wear this a million times.
Mm.
So asking yourself when whether you're thrifting or whether you're shopping at a mall or whatever, like what am I gonna wear this with? Where am I gonna wear it to? How many times am I gonna wear it? What am I gonna pair it with? Um, can really help, I think, determine like why are you actually buying that thing then?
Exactly. And also, there's so many amazing options out there now. If you're going to a really incredible event and you know you need to dress up, it's going to be impactful, rent a dress, There's so many beautiful options for us in the world now to be more sustainable. So it's much easier than 2014 when I started Recycle to Riches.
Yeah.
And even explaining sustainable fashion is easier. So, yeah, just choose your options. You can always rent a dress when you're dressing up in a fancy, when you're going to the gala or something like that, and you can send it back. It's okay. That is all you needed it for. It lived its time. It's going to have another experience with somebody else. So I always have those options as well for people that like they know they need that. And you know, I have been loving capsule wardrobes.
Hmm.
So I started mine probably in like 2021, really focusing in on my capsule wardrobe. Who am I? What's my style? What are my color schemes that I know I always am drawn to, I always wear? Starting to shop in that like seasonal where it can be kind of I can transition my wardrobe seasonally still, but it stays within that capsule. So maybe I have like max 30 items that I own where they all fit together. They're all in sync. I can mix and match them. And I also work remote, so I am a little bit blessed. Sometimes I just need to throw on a t-shirt and have a Zoom meeting, and I don't need to worry about what my bottom half looks like. But
Exactly. Yes.
anyway, if you are going out and you have that capsule wardrobe, you know it is you because you've looked into who you are. So start that Pinterest board, get really excited about learning who you are and what your style is because honestly, when you hit like 25, your style's not going to change. It's going to be you. You know who you are. You're getting there anyway. So, yes, when you're younger, it's fun to like find new things and experience. So, I always let young youth just experience themselves because you're supposed to do that. That's exciting. But yeah, if you're 25 and up, start working on that capsule wardrobe because you're already knowing yourself. You know what you want to do. You got your job probably that you're working towards. So you know what your wardrobe might have to be, right? And you can always change it up if you have to. Sell things on Poshmark, get things on Poshmark. Those are my little tips.
No, exactly. I think that what you're describing is so important too, because I'll talk about this sometimes where I'm like, I think people think this like sustainability thing is like boring sometimes in terms of fashion. And like when we think of a capsule wardrobe, it's like one pair of denim jeans, one pair of black jeans, one pair of one white t-shirt, one black t-shirt, one red t-shirt. Like, and
Oh,
I think that that's great if that is what your style is. For like me, who's a little bit crazier when it comes to fashion, I would say like I've been building a capsule wardrobe that encapsulate what my style is. What you're saying too is like, this is what's your style. And we all might have different styles. And so, yes, at the end of the day, it might be, something a little bit more minimal, or it might be something a little bit more crazy like
Yeah,
mine.
exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's like when I look in my closet, it's not pieces that I plan on getting rid of soon. I'm not just like cycling in new things for the hell of it and getting rid of things and whatever. Like I really try to buy things with intention so that that's been another thing I've really been asking myself where I'm just like, am I still going to have this in my closet in like 10 years, in 5
Right,
years, in whatever? And if I'm most likely not, then I don't end up getting it. Because it's just like I want to have a closet that I'm going to keep forever. That even if there's this many trends and even if there's this and whatever, like it goes through all of the trends. It consistently stays to be my true style.
right,
And I think that that's something that we should, try to get people to aim towards more. And that finding your personal style, this is something I'm like so passionate about. I'm like, oh, bring up the term personal style and I could talk for like 8 years, but I really think we've lost this aspect of personal style because so many things nowadays are just like trends, 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 trends. And I'll see so many, content creators or friends or whoever that their style is like whatever's currently trending. And I'm like, you look great. You're looking in fabulous, amazing, stunning. Can't complain in that sense. It's just like I don't know what I would categorize like maybe what this person's actual personal style is.
right,
Whereas like me, not to say I'm perfect, I incorporate trends all the time. Um, but I think like my favorite compliment, I think, is when people are like, that's so Lexy. Like that is the most Lexy thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, that's something that I like really feel like I strive for, where it's like I have this personal style that someone could see something. My friends and I will go thrifting, or my friends will go thrifting, in their hometown or wherever they are, and they will end up buying something because they're like, this just like screamed you. Or like I'll do it with my friends where I'm like, this was just so you. And so I think that that's like really lost nowadays is like having this again idea of personal style. And so I always encourage people, which is very biased, but I'm like, go thrifting because you're gonna go to a store that isn't gonna have like one niche. It's not gonna have everything that's on trend. It's just gonna have a bunch of random shit.
right.
And you're gonna have to sift through it and find the pieces, and you're gonna ask yourself, like, do I really like this piece? Um, and I think that that is going to be a great way of just like once you compile a few of like oh, okay, I really like this piece just because I like it, then all of
Right.
a sudden you're going to look at your closet and it's going to be a whole bunch of these are just pieces that I freaking liked. Like, no, not because it was on trend, just because I genuinely liked it. And I feel like that's a great way of finding what your personal style is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have one of the first ever sustainable directors and life cycle or analyses on to combat greenwashing. There we go, English. How do those tools help consumers make better choices?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just got into it. It's asking the right questions. So, when you have a life cycle analysis and you are able to break it down from start to finish, meaning where did I get these materials? Where did the company get the materials that are making the product? All the way down to the end of life. So, where is this going at the end of its life? If I wanted to return it to the company, do they have a take back program? Do they have a repair program if it rips? Do they have an overdye program if I have a stain? These are all amazing questions to kind of just start thinking about the process of our products, how they become products through the scarce resources we have here on Earth, all the way, and the human hands that are creating these products as well, that has a huge impact. So it's not just your materials, it's the hands. Every hand that touches your product, every machine that is created to create your product. When we have a solution in sustainable fashion, we also now need to think of what may be the drawbacks from this solution. Do we have a bamboo product that truly is low environmental impact? Or is this a higher impact because of the machinery that we needed to create the bamboo fiber? So there is so many things that you can start asking yourself, and the life cycle analysis for consumers is just the start of it. It's the start of the onion that you're going to start peeling back on sustainability. And this could be used, this is great for fashion. Honestly, the life cycle analysis was created. I created it when I was pursuing sustainable fashion. So it has a lot to do with textiles, fabric, materials, take back programs, things like that. But it can also be adjusted for regular products like your phone case. Where's my phone case coming from? Things like that. So definitely consumers can utilize it for every single product that they're consuming if they wanted to walk through that. But also, I want to encourage brand owners that are going to start their own companies to first start off with this life cycle analysis. It's free, it's on our website, it's live for you to just walk through. You don't have to worry about asking the wrong questions or starting from scratch. The questions are there for you to ask yourself as a business owner and a production, somebody that's producing a product. So you can go in there, ask the right questions before you start your company. And that way, hopefully, you'll have a better impact at the end of your life cycle analysis before you even start your brand.
That's amazing. I think that that's so important is like asking yourself, going into it with a sustainable mind, I think like ends up making things so much easier for you long term. I think that's something that I've mentioned before where I'm like in terms of movies, I always use this example because I had this conversation once and I was like, oh, I never thought about like the set of a movie and how unsustainable that can be. And so I was like, if you go into it, and this person was saying, if you go into it and you buy everyone just a recyclable or reusable water bottle, everyone on the set, they get a reusable water bottle. That while it's going to be more expensive in the beginning, is actually going to end up saving you money because in reality, with the amount of times that you have to have to buy plastic water bottles on set and then someone will open it and they'll put it down and it's like, well, is that one mine? Let me just go get a new one. And then you're going to spend like double, triple, however much more on plastic water bottles when at the end of the day, um, buying that one reusable one is going to, yes, be more expensive in the beginning, but going to save you money and be more sustainable. And so I think that that's a perfect example of like going into something being like, okay, this is more expensive in the beginning, but it's going to save us money and it's sustainable, and having, a resource out there that helps you and helps you think of things that you might not have thought of as a business owner, but you want to go into it being more sustainable. I just think it's always important to like actually start with that sustainability bit and then don't like instead of having the company and then being like, oh, maybe we should be more sustainable,
Let's backtrack.
Let's
Yeah.
backtrack. Because I feel like we're seeing that so much now with like brands being and consumers encouraging and pushing for brands to be more sustainable and ethical and all that stuff. And these brands are now like, oh God, like let me backtrack. How do we do this? Like I can't I don't know. And so I think it's like, well, if you go into it being sustainable, it's gonna make your life easier, probably in a lot of aspects in the long run. And it might save you money, which again, debunking that sustainability is more expensive myth day by day.
Right.
It's a mindset thing, guys.
Yeah.
Well, greenwashing is everywhere. Speaking of brands changing their ways, greenwashing is very prominent in the fashion industry and amongst consumer goods. What do you spot and what like advice could you give people to avoid falling for greenwashing?
Yeah. Great question. So if they are right off the bat saying that they have, a sustainable material like bamboo, but you don't see any back information on their website about what is going into this material and who's making it and about their manufacturing, if you don't see information on their website on why they're doing the sustainability act that they say they're doing, this is a great way to flag greenwashing. So if they have like a 1% for the planet is a great thing to look for, but also if they have that, but they're not talking about it on their website on why they're doing this and what the impact is and multiple things besides just 1% for the planet, that can't possibly weigh out the emissions that people are creating when they just slap that on. I'm sorry. I have to be honest with that because when you see it, it seems like, oh, this is fantastic. They're giving back. And they are. They are. But the other side of it is their emissions might outweigh completely what they're that 1% that they're giving. So
Mm-hmm.
keep an eye out for those things. If you don't see, carbon neutral manufacturing or trying to pursue organic fibers, or, one example that you can look at is Known Supply. They are somebody that I really love supporting, love talking about because they are somebody that highlights the maker. So you know the supplier, the creator. Every creator signs it, and you have a little signature of your designer right on your t-shirt or your product. So these things that the brands that incorporate the human aspect, the environmental aspect, the reason why they're taking the environmental actions that they're taking, these are all signs of great sustainable brands you should be supporting. But if you can't see these things right on their website or even on their Instagram or behind the scenes of their production process, if you can't see that, I'm sorry, they're probably not the most sustainable company you could be supporting. And
Yeah.
again, I'll go back to the life cycle analysis. If you can't answer some or most of these questions on here, starting from resources, manufacturing, distribution, use, end of life, if you can't go through that and see that information on the website, because that's where we find stuff, then they're not worth supporting. They're not worth giving your funds to. We have the power as consumers to make great change, to support small brands, small designers that are doing it right from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right, Lexi? The ones that are starting from resources. Okay, let's do all organic resources. Make sure that the farmers are fair trade farmers and they're working good to get the crops that we need. And we're checking in on the production process and we're making sure that they're not getting overworked and they have fair wages. And it is so hard to be a sustainable brand. I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay, so we need to be supporting these individuals that even want to take this step. So that is what I can tell you to combat greenwashing. The red flags are if they're not talking about their actions and
Mm-hmm.
the reason why they're doing sustainable actions.
Yeah. No, completely. I feel like that's like my process, I guess, is like if I look at a brand, I see an ad for something or whatever, and I'm like, okay, my Instagram and TikTok, they know me pretty well. Like my Google knows me pretty well. I would hope that they know. Like every time I look something up on Google, I actually do find this very interesting. I'll look up like, I don't know, brown boots. That's like a go-to of mine. I love brown boots. And so but like the first things that will come up are all from like Depop, Poshmark, eBay. Like I was like, I don't want know when that happened, but I find that so interesting that like even the other day my brother was trying to find Hamilton related gifts, like the Broadway play Hamilton related gifts for his girlfriend, and I'm a Hamilton lover. And so I was like, "Oh, I got you." And so I started looking up like Funko Pops Hamilton related, and even that like it wasn't Funko Pop that came up. It was like Hamilton figurine Funko Pop Poshmark.
Yeah,
And I was
right.
like, that is so crazy to me because I literally looked up the brand and like still everything that came up was like secondhand sites. And so I'm like, they know me pretty well. Like I'm assuming that they're not going to show me an ad for like a company that I'm not going to align with, but every now and then they do. And my process will always just be like to look at the company. And if I like, if it takes me a second, if it takes me a really long time to find anything about their sustainability, if they don't have a sustainability section at the bottom, which even that
In that, yeah, even at the
even
bottom, I'm like,
that, I'm like,
why is this not highlighted?
I'm like, I feel like it would have been everywhere. Like, I just feel like the companies that really truly care, like, they make that their mission. That's everywhere on their site. Like,
It's
you'll
their
know when you,
DNA. Now
yeah,
that we've talked about Clementina, that is kind of her whole concept is the fact that sustainability needs to be in your DNA as a brand.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, completely. It's like, I don't know. I could support a company that, does some good things or has that little sustainability thing at the bottom, which that is
Mhm.
always super iffy to me. But why not support a company that is like it is in their DNA. It is all over their website. Everything they do is like sustainable, 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 ethical, all that jazz. And I'm like, I feel like you can just see, you can literally just see the difference when you look at like a website that truly cares about sustainability versus one that's like put in that little tab on there to appease their consumers.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so I think, I mean, we've talked about changing the mindset, but this is something that I find hard to do. You can't always just I feel like I've along with my thrifting journey and my sustainability journey, I feel like I've gone through quite the journey and like getting people to listen to me about sustainability. And I found that like, I used to be a little bit more critical. I used to be like, don't do that. Don't shop from that place. And that didn't encourage people to then change their ways. So what strategies have you found most effective in actually changing mindsets?
Yeah, and this goes back again to peeling back that onion and filling in those gaps of production. So once you kind of explain and you know a little bit about that brand that you're telling the person not to shop with, you're able to say, well, I just saw that they had, this blank amount of emissions from their overall production in 2024. And, they only planted 300 trees, so you can kind of have these details and the facts about the brands if you're trying to become an expert. I don't think you should be telling anybody what to do if you don't think you're trying to become an expert in the field. So if you're not trying to pursue this field and you're just like another consumer, lay off kind of thing. But if you've studied and you kind of know your stuff and you know what you're talking about and they're coming to you for guidance of consumption, then go ahead, But I think giving them the answers and the solutions and showing them what is going on really says it all. And they end up wanting to support and change in some ways, one shape or another. And going back to just, if you're a regular consumer yourself and you're trying to be more sustainable and impact your friends, well, guess what? You're the little cricket in their life. You're the little, Jiminy Cricket that's telling them these little things. And my family, I've been on this journey for a really long time now. Yeah, I am a little bit annoying for sure, but I have laid off on a lot of different things. And now when they're by themselves, they hear my voice. Oh, shut off the water. Oh, no, you don't want to shop on that site. Go to Poshmark instead. And I'm telling you, your friends are going to have the same experience when you're just talking about what you're doing and the journey you're on and being real with it and saying, yeah, it's hard, but I did this instead. I actually ended up composting the other day. It was really cool. I got to go to a farmer market, drop off my food scraps. It was fun. And you just start living your life, much as like people as, in religion, when they just start living their life in that, you kind of see them change. Your friends are going to do the same. They're going to start seeing that change. They're going to start, if they want to be on board, come on board. If you make it fun enough, anyone's going to want to do it.
Yeah.
Do it with a smile. Don't be harsh. Don't say shame on you. Let them be who they are and meet them where they're at
Mhm.
as a conscious consumer trying to impact the people around you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's always something I'll notice. And like another thing that I think I like love is when people will be like, they'll text me, and my cousin just did this, and she was like, "Oh my God, Lexi, I got this pair of jeans, and you're never gonna believe it, but I sat at the store for like an hour and I talked to them about sustainability." And they were telling me all about how the jeans were like more sustainable and all the things that they do. And I was talking about you. And I am like, I'll get text messages from my other cousin who like moved to San Diego, and she's like, I've really been starting to attend these like mending repair shops and
Awesome.
these crafting shops and workshops, and she'll send me photos of like all the ones that she does, and I'm like, that's when I feel like I'm definitely like a little cricket in your ear, as when I know that I'm getting these text messages from people, or someone will be like, "Oh, like I thrifted this. You're gonna love this." Um, is like I know I'm getting my, spreading the word.
Yep, exactly.
Because it's like they're sending it to me and they're like showing it off in a way that's like, look how cool this is. You're gonna love this. And so I'm like, I feel like I've definitely, hopefully, very very much mended myself from being that little negative Nancy that was like, don't shop there, to being like, oh, that's super cool. Not gonna judge you. But did you know
Yeah.
that my shirt's thrifted? And it's actually from a similar brand or whatever, but I thrifted it. And
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep it forever. Or there's a company that makes very similar clothing, but they are sustainable. Maybe you should shop here instead. Well, not instead. That's the same
Yeah.
Nancy way, but like, I don't know, just like saying it in a way that I think makes it, like what you said, more fun. And I think I like to do that a lot, where like anytime I am so annoying that like every time my like core friend group will be like, "Oh, I love this thing that you're doing." I'll be like, "Thanks, it's thrifted." And they're like, "Lexi, you don't even need to say that anymore. Like, we know." We're aware. And I'm just
We
like,
get it. Everything's thrifted.
I'm like, sorry, what do you want from me? I like
Sorry.
to show it off. I think it's cool. Um, but I think that this is such a perfect conversation. I looked at the calendar. I did realize that I'm saying that our podcasts are every Thursdays, but this one is on a Wednesday because the next day is like Thanksgiving and stuff. But this will come out at the perfect time because it's Black Friday weekend and Cyber Monday and all of these sales. And I think that that's like the biggest thing that we will see is like so much stuff that gets bought during Black Friday and Cyber Monday are like complete impulse buys because it's on sale and you're like, ah, I need to get something and I need to buy something. It's on sale, let me buy it. And I think like there's such a big difference of like, okay, if it's Black Friday and you've been looking at this thing for months, for a year, you've been saving up for it and it's on sale, and so you're gonna buy it because it's on sale during Black Friday. That's a completely different conversation, and that's what I think Black Friday should be, versus like I like going to the God, that's like what I feel the videos of like how people used to shop Black Friday where they would like
So
get
intense. So
barricade
intense.
in line for a freaking
Yeah.
mall
Wild.
and like trample over each other and stuff. And so I'm like, I think that um we'll see a lot of people buying these sales online and unfortunately making a lot of purchases that they might not actually care about. And so if you listen to this podcast anytime before Black Friday or even after or whenever, think about your purchases before you buy them this Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because I have a feeling a lot of people will be making some purchases that they won't end up having in their closet or their house or whatever for years to come. And so this was perfectly timed, actually.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. And you planned it like that.
I totally meant to do that. Well, you guys always emphasize collaboration. Can you share an example where bringing together businesses, creators, or communities created real change?
Man, I have to go back to the LA fires on that one because our Fire Relief Fridays in February, January was so hard. We were just trying to kind of gather ourselves and get it together and really plan this for the community and get everything ready. So we weren't able to do any relief within our own organization. I personally went to different locations and distributed a bunch of our inventory that we had, that I needed to basically just do something. So that's what I could do at that time. But then in February, people were still in need, and we ended up collaborating with probably over 20 different sustainable brands that would definitely pass the life cycle analysis. Not just clothes were donated. We actually minimized our clothing donation because of how much clothes were donated within that time frame. We actually saw more of the fashion waste impact through the LA fires because we got to see what was needed and what isn't needed. And sometimes people donate wild items that is not needed. So there were a lot of eye-opening experiences through that time. We saw a lot of waste that was really unnecessary as well. But through the Fire Relief Fridays that we had at the Hexy building, I mean, I know you covered it and it was just fantastic to have you there, but that probably was the biggest for me. I mean, I know we've had the Earth Day Summit and all of that, but that was the biggest heart impact for me, for the community, because of the stories that I got to listen to while we were handing out those bags. That if you weren't able to see what we did, there is a reel on Instagram of Recycle2riches that covers what we were doing, but the products were laid out so that they could go and shop on their own. And these were all sustainable products. Zero plastic was involved. And these were sustainably sourced products that were donated to Recycle2riches for the community to literally just grab what they needed at that time. Because a lot of the community that we serve already made that transition and detoxed from those regular day products that are in the stores today, like Suave and all of those crazy brands, and they lost everything as well and still needed those sustainable brands. So you saw refill centers handing out things. You saw, oh, the community just giving and giving. It was very beautiful. But I would say, yes, the most impactful collaboration experience thus far was the Fire Relief Fridays because of all of those generous donations we got to be able to give out. Over 200 products, 200 units of like probably what, 10 products were there: toilet paper, shampoo bars, tampons for women, reusable pads were there. It was just fantastic to see. So, and reusable bags. We didn't have regular shopping bags. It was a reusable bag from Chico Bag that they donated a whole bunch of ones that were just rebranded sitting around that they didn't need. And we don't need to give another plastic bag out. Right now, they could use any bag they need to fill that. They really do need reusable bags for laundry to take their laundry places. So that was a whole nother thing that was awesome to see was really the zero plastic that happened there. And then one more thing I do have to shout out because the food that was donated was just absolutely amazing. So Plant-Based Treaty was actually partnered with us through that time and got discounted pricing for the distributions almost every single Friday. There was one Friday, I think we weren't working with them because it was going to be a low turnout and not too many people signed up that Friday. But almost every Friday they showed up. Well, I picked up, but they showed up and got us that discount and really helped us out to feed the people as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, like I got to see it firsthand and it was so, so, so great. And I know that you were like, you had talked about, you were like, I like so many of these products got used. Like our sponsors even sent more so that people could, like, people were really, using it and like getting these products that they needed. And it was great to like get these kind of like basic things that we have in our house that we don't think about all the time, like uh, toilet paper and, and stuff like that. And like these are, you know, things that people constantly need. And there are ways, it was so great to like see that firsthand, getting them out to people in Los Angeles during a time where so many people needed these things, and then also having those things be that extra sustainable bit, which
Yeah.
is just like the impact was just like, wow, there's this much impact where like, okay, you're already getting stuff to people, and then add the on top of it where it's like, and those things that we're getting out are sustainable.
It'll impact your consumption afterwards and you'll
Yeah.
think about it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
Yep.
amazing. That's like what I've had so many people like, come visit California or just message me when the fires were happening and, reaching out, making sure everything was okay. And I was like, for a really, really dark and scary time, I have never seen more people, more community, like more people get together and like want to solve something.
Right.
And it was just so amazing to see like firsthand, I think, where it's like, while it's really unfortunate that this has come as a result of something so horrible, it's great to see that like, people can get together and care for people in Los Angeles and around California and so on and so forth. And um yeah, it was a scary time, but it was a great time to like see community firsthand, and I think that was amazing, and it was so amazing to see what you were doing as well.
Thank you.
Um, on that note, I always like to end the podcast asking my guests what are some top tips that you would give someone who is maybe just starting their sustainability journey.
Great question. So I'll give 2 to 3 tips. I think number one, don't be too hard on yourself. I think when I first learned about sustainability, I wanted to be as perfect as possible, consume every single thing as sustainable as possible. And I really got drained. I was like kind of just I don't know. There are some things that don't have that solution to it and I may need to do. Or, my family got really annoyed with me because I was too hard on them. So just be kind on yourself and be kind to others while you're going through this journey is number one for sure. And number two, start with one thing at a time. Okay. So don't go full in on this journey. There's easy ways to start being a more sustainable consumer. Thrifting and starting with fashion is freaking fantastic. If you can learn about your wardrobe and your personal style, like we were talking about, and just get more intentional with your fashion and what you put on your clothes or your body, what you put on your body, that right there will make such a big impact by the end of the year. And I'll tell you, I'll invite you to join our Conscious Consumer campaign that's live on the website all the time. It usually goes throughout April. We blast it out, but you can join throughout the year. And it really does say start with one thing. So you can join that and do it for 30 days. And hopefully after that, that'll be a habit. Next month, try it again. Choose a different conscious consumer habit that you want to adapt. So we encourage all the way from showering 3 minutes, 3-minute showers. That's honestly, that's enough time. You should be all right by then. Okay. You should get your crevices through that time. I know you're allowed to relax. So maybe give yourself one day where you have that extra long shower that's hot and your muscles get to relax.
Mhm.
Okay. We're not trying to be this like whip, do it perfect. That's what I'm saying. Give yourself that lenient time as well when you're starting. So that was two. Well, I guess that was three. The Conscious Consumer campaign. I was inviting you all to, but definitely not. The star of the show is asking questions. The
Mhm.
star of the show is trying to figure out what you're consuming and where is it coming from.
Yeah, completely. I think those are great tips. I think that, yeah, what if you're find the thing you're passionate about, like mine was fashion. And so that was the like easiest thing for me to switch because I was like, you know what? I'm already thinking about my wardrobe and my closet and buying stuff and whatever at least like 6 out of the hours during the day.
Yes, yeah.
Um, So might as well change some of those habits. And I look back and like we were talking about, like I was like, I changed a lot of my shopping habits and I just switched them for thrifting at first. And it was, yes, maybe more sustainable, but I would argue still not sustainable at all. And that's okay, it's all about the journey. And now I'm like, I very honestly, I go to thrift stores like freaking every day. I love hanging out at a thrift store, but like
Yeah.
I very rarely thrift things that are for myself. Because I've built that closet that I feel like encapsulates me. And so I think it's like if fashion is the thing that drives you, start there. But if it's cooking or if it's, I don't know, going on hot girl walks or if it's your pet or if it's whatever, home decor,
Right.
like start there, become an expert at it, and then move on to the next thing. And so I'm like, I feel like I've made a lot of big changes in my wardrobe and my shopping habits, and now I've been making a lot more like swaps in like my house. Like I don't
Mm,
have like paper towels anymore, and I use just like rags, and I'm careful about what, trash bag I put in my trash, and I careful about what laundry detergent I use, and I'm careful about what, dishwasher detergent I use, and like all those
right.
things. And so like now I've kind of moved on and I'm learning. I'm still always going to be improving my shopping habits and
Everybody is.
yeah,
You can never be an expert,
exactly.
honestly,
It can
in
never be
every.
100% sustainable 100% of the time, but I
Right.
think like exactly what you said, just find that thing, start there, and once you feel like you've gotten pretty good at it, maybe you can start moving on to the next thing. But I think that those are great, and I think it's important to pat yourself. I say this so often, but pat yourself on the back for the things that you're doing well and not beat
Yeah.
yourself up or others too up about the things that they can't do. Well, thank you so, so much. It was so lovely speaking with you. Where can people find you on social or anywhere else?
Yeah, well, we're recycled two with the number riches everywhere. So find us. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me, like Kim Possible would say. You can book 15-minute free consultations with me if you have questions about how to become more sustainable in your consumption habits. So that's open to the public, and yeah, we're there. So just reach out. We'll get back to you as quick as possible. And thank you so much, Lexi, for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you. Amazing. While you're at it, you can follow me on my socials. My Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are all my name at Lexi Silverstein. That's Lexy, silver like the color, Stein. And remember to live a good life and look fucking good doing it.